Welcome back, and our first segment is going to talk about technology and technology management in particular. And we said earlier that we're going to talk about this very important issue and its importance, its implication on the development of any society. And we're very delighted to have with us Professor Dr. Tarek Khalil with us. Good morning, Professor Khalil. How are you?
A very good morning to you, sir. And as my dear colleague Dina said, it's about management, technology management. What do we mean first by management of technology?
Okay, thank you for asking the question. I think it's a very important question because management of technology is one of the newer fields. It's an interdisciplinary field that, as you can see from the name itself, it combines both technology and engineering and business to a great extent. As you well know, all modern societies, not only modern, but even older societies, depended on technology for improving human conditions, improving economic situation, improving social status. Therefore, technology is a foundation for societal growth. That has been since the dawn of civilization, as a matter of fact. If you go back even to the ancient Egyptians, all the dynasty of the ancient Egyptians were based on the knowledge and the application of their knowledge, whether it was in agriculture, whether it was in building, whether it was in transportation, and so on. Dynasties and economic growth and prosperity are based on knowledge and the application of knowledge. And the application of knowledge essentially is technology. So it's the way we do things. It's the means by which we accomplish objectives. That has progressed in history. Actually, the dynasties disappeared and dynasties appeared because of the knowledge and because of the technologies that they acquired. So when we went to the Greeks or to the Romans or to the Europeans or now to the Americans, it's all the societal power and dynasties are based on technology. Now we come to the modern times. Modern times, there are growth in the process of technological innovation that are unprecedented in history. That has occurred particularly in more recent years because of the explosion of the communication and information technology. The processing of information. Now you have to understand that you need data that you can transport into information, that you can convert into knowledge, and then you apply that knowledge into technology. So the explosion of the processing of data and the explosion of information with the ease of communication created a revolution. It's a revolution that has a much more impact than the Industrial Revolution, which we call the technology revolution or the information, where the growth in technology has been exponential in the recent years. That growth of technology is very difficult to convert into economic progress as well as social progress. So that process of conversion needs management. So comes the whole process of how we can manage our technological resources in order to create wealth. And the whole concept of creating wealth is economic growth, as well as improve the quality of life in society. Hence, the management of technology or the management of technological resources and innovation. And the most important thing in all of this is the innovation, which is a process that converts creativity into products and services that are useful for society. So that field has expanded in the US over the past quarter century. And fortunately, I was one of the early people that got involved in this.
Right. Professor Khalil, of course, technology is important, like you said, for any societal development and for the for whatever that is required for any society to be able to move forward towards any developmental map. So in order for issuing or for effecting that in society, we have to monitor the progress of of technology in society. We have to found it with the new generations since the early beginnings.
Sure.
So how could that be established?
It's a whole system, obviously. It's a system that requires complete society commitment to the age of knowledge which we are in. And it starts essentially by trying to find the methodologies that can create a creative society. We are trying to find out how we can embed the whole concept of creativity, because creativity is the first aspect of innovation. So you need a creative society that can think and that can produce. For creativity, we're going to have to start from very early ages. So education has a vital role. That's why we say any progress in society, and particularly for Egypt, if we do not concentrate on the system of education in Egypt, the progress is not going to happen. It's not going to work. So, and it has to start from the beginning. Actually, it could also start from the day of birth at home. Depending, certainly that requires certain culture, requires certain education, requires public attention, requires the media role, and certainly the school role, starting from kindergarten all the way to graduate education. So a society that can think, work, and innovate is the society that's going to advance as we move into the 21st century and beyond.
And sir, whenever we are speaking about this, how this can be implemented on the ground? I mean, with concrete steps, or with material steps, I should say. Is it going to be with the thinking out of the box, with having think tanks, with having this kind of cooperation and coordination between the school, the homes, even the activities outside this? I mean, how to prepare our generation, the coming generation?
I like a word that you mentioned, which is very nice, which is thinking out of the box. Thinking out of the box means that you get rid of all the
traditional
ways of thinking that does not move you anywhere. And that's the first step, actually, because if you think of the issues and the problems that exist in society, even in education, if you don't think outside of the box, we will never solve the education problem. If you think of the growth of the population, for example, in Egypt, I can take Egypt particularly. I mean, I work in these issues across the globe, actually. But for Egypt, if you think of the number of people that come into the system every year, we're talking about 2.6 million young person that is born every year.
This is going to increase. This is not going to dwindle.
Sure. Now, if you keep building schools almost every day, you will never educate the population, let alone the unfortunate situation in which our schools exist today. So unless you can think outside of the box and take drastic action, nothing is going to happen. Going back, how can we start? Obviously, we have to start on the ethics and the culture, building the human society. It's extremely important that we as educators, as well as the media, as well as the government, as well as the private sector, work cohesively and interactively in order to establish the work ethics, the concepts of creativity, how we can work together at home as well at school and cooperate to bring a new generation of people that are willing to bring in the thoughts forward, willing to express themselves freely, willing to be creative. And then later on, as we move into the upper levels of education, into the professional education, or into the college education, or into the graduate school, then we can apply whatever ideas we have in order to solve societal problems, to start with, to advance in the future. which means a strong linkage between the educational institutions and the business community and the industry. Because we have, for example, thousands and thousands of projects that young people actually work on, either in school, in high school, or in college, or in engineering schools and so on. When you think what happens to those projects, you find that once a person leaves school, it disappears. Then everybody goes and is looking for work at government. Doesn't work that way, because each one of those is a pool of knowledge if it's taken further to establish either a small enterprise or a micro even enterprise and apply it for the benefit of society. You can find thousands of projects that are being implemented that solve either a problem that exists in society or actually contribute to economic growth, as well as obviously it's going to resolve the employment problem that we have, because no government can employ the numbers that we have. And even in industry, with the work ethics that exists that needs to change, that's not going to solve unless we think out of the box.
Right. If you could set some examples of technology management, of course, believe in borrowing the experiments from all over the world, the successful experiments. So if you can set some examples for the best technology management that could be applied here and could be taken seriously into concern and could affect some reality on the ground, I mean, some kind
we are doing that. For example, we have, we have the only program in management of technology at Nile University, actually. And that program actually emphasizes how we can utilize our technological resources to solve problems. We tackle societal problems right now more than anything. So, for example, the issue of traffic. I mean, we know we're all suffering from the issues of traffic. Unless we can come up with some technological solutions for this, and I'm talking about, for example, using intelligent transportation system. We have a program, an intelligent transportation system, utilization of smart cameras, utilization of information that's collected on the roads, on the traffic pattern, and so on. Once you have that information, then you can manage the system much better, because you can redirect, you can reroute, you can establish new roads, you can establish rules. So the start is always from information and technological solutions. Otherwise, I don't know what we're going to do with us stuck in traffic for half of our lives. I mean, the productivity will suffer, the economy will suffer, and everybody will be frustrated. So we have to look for technological solutions. We have some projects, for example, that solve some agricultural issues. Again, it's on technology. We have a project that on genomic sequencing of things such as the buffalo, the Egyptian buffalo. For example, you can say, what does buffalo have to do with technology? Well, if we don't understand the genomic sequence of
this genomic code is very important in all creatures, starting the I think even the one-cell creatures to the human being.
And if we're talking about increasing the milk supply or increasing the meat supply or something like this, we have to start from here and understand this so we can improve.
And understanding even our genomic code, we can know who is going to have or who is more exposed to catch even flu. I mean, this is something which is very important, sir. But here, I'd like, if you permit me, to focus on something about the new generation and about our generation and about the coming generations. The coming generations, are they going to be more lucky? I mean, whenever it comes to technology, I should now say that my son is going to be more lucky than I do, and his son is going to be more and more, or this is going to depend on who is going to absorb technology now and to implement its management on the ground.
See, this is the challenge. This is the challenge that we have today. There is no doubt that societies of tomorrow, and actually societies of today, are changing daily. I'll give you a very simple example. We just had a lecture at the university a few days ago. We brought one of our expats, one of the bright Egyptians that live abroad, and we do that. We try to connect with Egyptians abroad that have experience and that can bring the technology, and give a very wonderful lecture on the Internet of Things. The Internet of Things, that's where the future is, which you connect everything together. The information is collected on everything, on every individual, on every aspect of our lives, and it's transformed and it's processed, and it can be used for useful means. The future, you can connect with every individual. You can connect with every product. You can connect with every inch of your house. So, as for example, you driving home, you can order the lights to be on. You can order the TV to be on. You can order the microwave to start, or something like this. As you go to school, people know where you are and how you're moving and your directions. As everything is connected through big data analysis, through cloud, the cloud computing in cyberspace. It's a new world. And certainly the new world are going to be better. But it's not going to be better for us unless we are into it, unless we understand what the value of technology is, how to, if we don't have it, if we can't create it, how to import it, how to make it take a hold, how to think with it, how to play with it, and how to advance it to our advantage. And that's our own challenge, and if we don't do it immediately, we are really in trouble.
I'm out.
Right. Professor Khalil, it's so sad, honestly speaking, to see our youth, or I mean the graduates of very normal universities over here, Egyptian universities. They go abroad and they seek their the future and their careers, and they develop leading positions like in NASA, and we have very good examples of Egyptians, scientists everywhere, doctors, medical doctors, engineers, leading projects everywhere.
Sure.
But they're not well appreciated here. Even they frustrate the students at an early age. The people
we
who
have
are
a lot to work on. For example, you mentioned NASA. We just hosted an astronaut from NASA, Mary Ellen Weber, who came in and gave a lecture at the university. And we invited high school students and so on. A week earlier, we hosted an IEEE, which is the big engineering society, and it was doing space applications, innovations in space applications. If you see the young people, and you see you look into their eyes, and you see really the future of this country that can really become very bright if we give more attention to these young people and let them sort of unleash their capacity, unleash their innovation capabilities. You cannot imagine how bright these kids are, and you cannot imagine the potential if we really do the right things with the young people that we have. They are wonderful, and we see some of also the graduate students that come in from Egyptian universities. I mean, all our graduate students come from Egyptian universities, and they are wonderful. However, they need the proper environment, they need the proper guidance, they need some resources, obviously, in order to participate in this global race. It's actually a global race. And
then you are optimistic about the future, sir?
I am optimistic about the future if we do the right things now.
Then Dr. Tarek Khalil, Professor of Technology Management, thank you very much for being with us, sir. Thank you very much for your input, and have a very good day.
My pleasure. Thank you for hosting me.
And now it's time to live just for a few minutes with our colleague Dina Yunus, and with such a wonderful touristic destination in Egypt. Let's see.